Hello, everyone, and welcome to our exclusive webinar on VMware to OpenStack. Is it time to make the switch? I'm Radhika, your host for today, and I'm excited to guide you through this insightful session. Whether you are facing escalating cost with VMware or seeking more scalable solutions, today's webinar is all about exploring how OpenStack can revolutionize your cloud infrastructure, particularly in the manufacturing and logistics sectors. We are grateful to have two fantastic speakers with us, Tangyo Lim, Technical Director at Accretes International, and David Peck, Technical Architect at HPE. They'll be sharing their expert insights on how OpenStack can help overcome some common challenges faced with VMware. But before we dive into the content, just a couple of quick housekeeping notes. This session will be an hour long. We will have a Q&A section at the end. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat as we go along. And don't forget to download our free migration checklist and schedule a free consultation with our experts to discuss the specific migration needs. Okay, one more thing. We are going to have a lucky draw system. Whoever is going to be staying at the end of the webinar, we will going to select 5 lucky draw winners, and through a roulette, we will going to decide who is going to win. And those 5 people will going to get 20 STD dollars in cash as a cash prize. We are going to contact you after the webinar once you win the prize. So let's get started. So I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Tangyo Lim. Tangyo is a seasoned strategist who stays at the forefront of technology trends. And today he's going to talk about on how OpenStack can provide low cost, efficient, and scalable solutions for the business like yours. Over to you, T-Bar.
Hello, 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 good afternoon. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, T-Bar.
Yes, we can.
Okay. I thought I was muted. Thanks, Radhika, for the introduction. Yeah, and I would like to share some experience with the attendee. Yeah, and I hope you all can take away something in this presentation. Okay, let me start. Why VMware to OpenStack? Is it a right time to start? I mean, to switch? Let's see, yeah. Okay, many years ago, you only have started VMware, probably 20 plus years ago. I remember myself using VMware to do some other operating system on my desktop. Okay, but VMware had come a long way, yeah, 20, 30 years. And, you know, aside VMware, there's actually a lot of other flavors of hypervisor. Okay, OpenStack is probably one of the newer ones, yeah. But OpenStack itself is already probably about 15 years ago. Okay. Right. So I think with some Broadcom acquisition recently, those people who are aware of it, they realize that, maybe that is not the way to continue for VMware. Okay. Hi, say open view of VMware and OpenStack. VMware has been the leader in cloud and virtualization solutions, offering robust enterprise solution. OpenStack, on the other hand, is a open source, yeah, community kind of developed system. Yeah, it's definitely more flexible. It's driven by community, and a viable option if you are looking at cloud orchestration and things like that. Yeah. We were aware of VMware acquisition since last year, December. I think it was in November, yeah. But nothing was announced until earlier part of this year, which is April. We realized that the acquisition significantly put a big burden on organization using VMware. Okay, three key points, which later I would highlight. Yeah, one of them is of course cost. Yeah, cost has went up tremendously. Yeah. Okay, cost, service quality, and probably innovation is going to be impacted with the acquisition of VMware by Broadcom. Those who are working closely with VMware will realize that your licensing costs have gone up tremendously. Yeah. And they actually, for Broadcom strategy, they actually are focused on the high value customer. Yeah. The smaller customer is not what they are looking at doing. Yeah. Innovation slowdown. VMware itself, 30 years, the technology is pretty old, even though if you want to do a facelift and all that kind of stuff, it will take significant investment in R&D. But with the acquisition, I see that the innovation will slow down. Yeah. Reason is that Broadcom would like to package everything together with all their solutions and upsell to their customer. So likely they will innovate towards integrating VMware with their product. Vendor lock-in, yeah. Those who knows the acquisition by Broadcom, I think they acquire quite a bit of company, and they actually integrate everything together, refusing to provide support for other customer. Yeah. So it becomes a problem, yeah, for VMware in the long run. Yeah. The case for OpenStack, we all know that this is a very compelling one for organization. For Acris ourselves, we have been working on OpenStack since 2020 during the pandemic. Well, everybody is working from home and meetings have been reduced and so on. No more shuttling between work and home. So we are working on that, and we find that it is fantastic, and definitely after 15 over years, they are as solid as VMware. Definitely flexibility and cost efficiency. OpenStack itself has close to 50 projects, and they are very tightly integrated with Kubernetes. Kubernetes is, if you know, is a container base that most public cloud is actually offering, yeah, containerization of application. Definitely reducing dependency on proprietary vendors. No single company, owns OpenStack. But having said that, it doesn't mean that no company is supporting it. Yeah, if you do a Google search and all that, you realize that companies like Red Hat, Ubuntu, HP, IBM, Dell, Tencent, Huawei, AT&T, for example, they are actually the supporter of OpenStack. Open source advantage. We all know open source, you can actually download the programs and do any modification you want. So quite extensible, especially if you don't find things you need, right? You can look at all the projects in OpenStack and then see which one you need to customize. You can download it. You can program it and deploy those things to your liking. Let's go for a slight technical comparison, OpenStack with VMware. OpenStack is open source, flexible, scalable, very, very cost efficient. There's no licensing, so to say, yeah. But the big boys like Red Hat, Ubuntu, SUSE, they can provide software support. Feature of VMware, I think I shan't look too much at this. They are, you know, I guess all of you know what they are. Yeah. Okay, performance-wise, for OpenStack is moving very much closer to VMware. We have deployed quite a number of on-prem private cloud for some of our bigger customer. So performance-wise is pretty good. We don't see any problem with running OpenStack. The only significant issue with OpenStack is that to deploy OpenStack is probably 10 times more difficult than doing VMware. Yeah, but once deployed, it's actually very stable. Yeah, equivalent to what you have in VMware. Some strategies, migration to OpenStack. There were some customer who told me that, oh, I have in-house almost 200 application. I would like to migrate to the public cloud. I told them, don't try, you'll never finish migrating 200 applications to the public cloud. Public cloud, you have to start from scratch, right? Install your operating system, install your application, migrate your data. If let's say you have 10 server in one application, 200 application, you already know how many server you need to deploy, need to install and migrate, as well as configuring backup and so on and so forth. Yeah, OpenStack is different because you could actually go back to the back end of the system, the KVM level, and you can actually do a physical to virtual migration for your servers, or virtual to virtual migration if you're using VMware or Acropolis, yeah. So it's much easier to migrate from your physical server, your virtual server, to on-prem OpenStack rather than to redo everything on the public cloud. Public cloud is impossible. Yeah, it's impossible to do a migration of 200 applications. Okay, planning for migration. Definitely they need to understand what is their strategy for their IT in years to come. Yeah, because nobody want to move to something that cannot scale anymore in future, right? So I think VMware is not there anymore. Okay, OpenStack is actually able to scale, and because of all the support by the community as well as big company, you see more and more people looking for deployment on OpenStack, right? Of course, you need to look at your timeline, allocate resources, and I think the biggest problem is skill set. Yeah, so I always tell people, if you want to do OpenStack, try with proof of concept first. Yeah, do a small one. Once you are familiar and your engineers are familiar, then you can start thinking about which application is good to migrate. Not all applications should go into a private cloud. Yeah, if it's customer facing e-commerce kind of workload, it probably is better to put it in public cloud. Yeah, but if you need security and all that kind of stuff, or different projects and all that, and you need to migrate many applications, for example, then it would be better to set up your own private cloud. I think IT people are aware, right? Most of the time is that, before you even jump into a project, you have to assess your current infrastructure, and then think about your to-be infrastructure, what you're gonna have, what kind of things you're gonna do. Yeah. One very strong advantage of OpenStack is it's very closely integrated with Kubernetes. And so far, I have been, Agree is also developing some software as a service kind of thing, also helping consulting on some AI and things like that. We realized that now all the programmers are programming in Node.js, is talking about LLM and things like that, right? So this doesn't really work very well with VMware, yeah. But all the containerized application and all that definitely sits on top of OpenStack, and they actually integrate very well together. Steps for migration, like I say, do a proof of concept, maybe move some non-critical workload, uh, provide some training and experience to your people on OpenStack. Yeah, and look at monitoring. There's lots of monitoring to very good, very advanced. They can monitor all the way to your application, the services, for example. Yeah, and then see all the stakeholders as well as the people involved in the project. What's the feedback? And then you think about what else you can do, or should you really go all out into OpenStack, or maybe, uh, the back-end system can go to OpenStack private cloud, and then some goes to public cloud, and maybe some you still may have to maintain in VMware. Yeah. Case study for OpenStack, there's lots of case study. If you do a Google search and all that, you'll know that there's a lot of case study. We are just going to take a look at two, the Sun and the Walmart case. Sun transition to OpenStack, okay, for their large scale computing needs. So far, I think they are doing very well. It's very flexible, better resource utilization, yeah, for their scientific kind of experiment. Walmart is a big retailer in the US. They also migrate to OpenStack for the e-commerce platform also, scalable performance, so on. They no longer have to pay a lot of licensing fee. Yeah, but of course, I think they do have to spend some money, hiring people who knows OpenStack. Yeah, and then training those who don't know. So that cost could be a little bit high, but for big companies, it makes sense for them to have all the knowledge, and people in-house to do the support and maybe outsource some of their projects, to some of the outsource vendor. But for smaller company to have their own people, I think it's very tough. Yeah, so we are supporting a lot of this company in their journey to migrate from VMware to OpenStack. This is a simple decision maker checklist. Cost projection. It's probably easier, to project your cost for OpenStack kind of solution because licensing is out. You only need to think about support costs, right? People costs and all that. For VMware, you never know, right? This year they triple the price. Next year they may, increase even further. Yeah. In my mind, it reminds me of once upon a time, a very good software, which is called Lotus Notes. And I think now, after 20 over years acquisition by IBM, Lotus Notes is almost non-existent anymore, right? So big company always acquire because they think it's good, but then, don't give any focus on their acquisition and causing their acquisition to fail. Vendor strategy, besides cost, of course, looking at vendor strategy, yeah. A lot of proprietary software provider, they are always prioritizing for the high value customer. Yeah. The smaller customer, they don't make as much money, so they don't spend too much time on them. Yeah. Innovation, again, if you are going for container in future, I think OpenStack is the way to go. Yeah. VMware doesn't integrate well with container. Okay, I come to the end of the slides. I have all the contact information there, my LinkedIn, email, and contact us page on Accrete, and a very nice photo of myself. This was obviously very much Photoshop. Thanks so much for hearing the presentation. I'll pass the floor back to Radhika.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tengyo, for the insightful presentation. Now, I'd like to invite David. He is a technical architect at HPE who is going to take us through practical aspects of migrating from VMware to OpenStack. David, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. Can you see my slides?
Yes, yes.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is David. I'm the technical architect from HPE, mostly on the compute teams. As TY mentioned earlier, a lot of customer is on cloud and they are moving back to on-prems, right? So digital transformation is essential. This is part of our initiative. Data first modelization make it possible. So in current context, customer who are in the cloud, they like the cloud experience, right? So in our digital transformation for Gen 11 server, HPE PolarIron is the compute engineer for your hybrid world. That means we can coexist between cloud and on-prem. So there's three pillars that we actually inbuilt into this Gen 11. The first pillar is intuitive. The second one is trusted. And then the third one is optimized. Okay, what is digital first modelization? So in today's context, right, hybrid world, compute is a game changer. That means what kind of compute you want to use for different kind of workload. There's no one size fit all in the current situation. So for data first modelization, we actually focus more on value add and less on the mutants. Deploy with confidence and let customer has a peace of mind against doing other things like security threat, and then power your apps and accelerate innovative everywhere data lives. So basically, data first modelization is where your data live at the edge, at the data center, as co-location, as well as the cloud. Okay, so based on our research statistics, right, customer who is on data first organization, right, have more than 49% more productive in their services, innovation in last year than their non-data centric competitors. They are also 20% more likely to beat their competitions to market by multiple quarters, as well as 11 times more likely to beat their own revenue goal by 10% or more. So data modelization is actually a key consideration, yeah, when you do the futures virtualization project or you're going to OpenStack as. So in the past, right, things are very centralized. Architecture is not geographical supported. Things is not easy to manage. They are kind of complex. Then another thing is security. There's dispute on the security. The next one is insufficient. That means basically not one size fit all. Not one server can do a lot of different workload. We need to depend on what type of workload, then you get what type of servers hardware. And then you may have things like rigid and unpredictable business model. Things break down along the way, things can't sell, etc. So as the world get more hybrid, right, compute won't look the same. So in current context, right, we have servers that's distributed across the enterprise. You can be on-prem, it can be on the cloud, it can be co-locations. The next one is cloud-like management. So things that easy for user as for operator manage their cloud experience, like whilst they're in the cloud or on-prem solution. We also integrate the security at the core. That means when the server was being manufactured at the factory, right, all these security are considered built within the hardware. Then it optimized the task performance as well as flexible. We actually have as a service model also, we call it the Green Lake Cloud Platforms. Okay, next, choice of compute is critical to do your digital transformation in a successful manner. So you understand that compute can power your application, compute that can accelerate your analytics, things like AI, IoT, okay? Compute that separate the noise signal from the noise, which are the correct signal and not the noise. Compute also turn your data into value. So when this data, your value data, it will actually help you to go to market and also for customer to innovate new product for the company revenue. So come back to the three pillar that I mentioned earlier, right? What is intuitive, what is trusted, what is optimized? Okay. For intuitive, right, basically we want to bring the cloud-like experience to customer. So for Gen 11 servers, right, we actually have this product called Comms, which is make it very simple to manage. It's a unified dashboard, and you also have some automations built into it. Okay. So basically, you can do modelization, lifecycle management, similar like you're using at the cloud. You can unify the compute management within a central console for self-service operations. And you also can automate tasks for efficiency, reducing manual effort in deployment your OS, and achieving the seamless firmware, simplify your support and lifecycle management, together with the security built into it. So this is a dashboard that you can see. So whoever customer that uses HP servers, right, they know that default there's this out of band management was built in. So we call it the ILO. Then we have this thing called OneView is for on-prem. Then we introduce this thing called Comms, which is build management at the cloud. So we can easily onboard 1,000 servers, distributed device across geographically. I can have server in APAC, I can have server in Europe, and I can servers in US. But if let's say the HQ is in Singapore, I can actually make this as the management hub, and I can manage all the server across the globe from the single pane of glass. Okay, unified. What do you mean unified? Unified is to compute management from a central console for self-service operation. For example, whenever servers onboarding into this comms, right, we can actually have the firmware baseline. For example, certain standard of firmware to be in place on the server before you can onboard into these dashboards. And the second thing is that in today's world, there are a lot of people talking about the sustainability. So using this unified management software, right, we actually inbuilt a carbon footprint report that is generated based on monthly. What is the carbon footprint of the server in that particular rack, in that particular data center? Yeah, so you can have a feel on what is the carbon footprint on the server. Next is automated. When we say automated, we actually rely a lot of REST API update server. So when we say comms, right, all the patches, all the firmware is already in the cloud. In olden days, administrator operator need to download the firmware to local location, data center, co-location, then they can deploy the patches to the particular server. But because now everything is automated as is in the cloud, right? It's easy to manage. That means just like for example your handphone, the patches is all there. You just click it and we just apply down to the servers. And also together with the automated monitoring and supportability, any hardware issue, any hardware like memory, hard disk, right? All these will be channeled back to the dashboard and you will get notified to whatever SI or HPE support site that particular hardware need to be replaced. Okay, so this is just the slide that I mentioned earlier. We have the one view that's embedded, the ILO that's embedded on the server, the one view for on-prem, and then we have this thing called the Green Lake for complete automation, which we call it the comms. Okay, so the intuitive management experience is without any security compromise. Of course, we have built in the secure authentication from cloud-based management platform to the individual level servers. So individual, we actually have this 256 AES 256 encryption for all the customer data in the comms. Basically, we just as there's no particular customer data is being monitored. We just monitor the logs from in the individual server. And then we can also do the multi-tenants isolation to ensure that the logical separation from the other computes. That means there are different roles that you can input on the comms. Yeah. Okay, next, I'll talk about security. So, faster security by design. So, it's the fundamental element of our HP PoleIron servers since 30 years ago. That's how we built our servers. Last year is our 30th anniversary for HP PoleIron servers. Okay, so with the silicon root of trust from the servers, right? The security is from factory to the cloud, and from the cloud, from the factory, then we send to able to deploy the server to the customers. Okay. Okay, next, fundamental. So from the record, we actually have the silicon root of trust. We have millions of by firmware code as well. We got 4 million of server deployed around the world. And for Gen 11, particularly, we have this thing called the zero trust that the platforms certified the IDEF ID and the TPN integrated within the server. Moving forward, Gen 12, Gen 13, all these servers will have this architecture in place. And together with the comms I mentioned earlier, right, the policy-driven firmware updates, together with the AES 256 encryption, that's how secure our server is from day one when we build it from our factory. And in Gen 11, we actually integrate our ILO with component integrity. We actually expand our ILO 6 verification to select storage and network controller like third-party Intel chips or third-party Brocade or Broadcom's card that we actually get it certified before that it can even insert into the servers. Yeah. Okay, protected. So we actually expand our trusted supply chain security. So everything from factory to supply chain, right? All is being extended by the supply chain leadership globally. So we actually expand to include all more workload available for AMD and Intel server in futures. So optimize protection and confidence for our server started from our trusted supplier to our manufacturing facility and in transition to use. I take a pause on this slide. If you can see that the server was built way up until it's being delivered to the customer. So it actually take care of things like DOS attacks, ransomware, etc., malware. So the server is actually built from factory. All these kind of attacks is being taken care. So in HP, we spend quite a lot of R&D, especially in security. Okay, next, I will talk on the last pillar, optimize performance for your workload on efficiency, accelerated, and open. Efficiency, we're talking about more than 43% more energy efficient compared to our generation. In today's market, energy is very expensive, so we try to innovate a server that using the energy more efficiently for the new server workload. And for this efficiency, we actually have 50% more core per CPU as compared with the latest Gen 4, Gen 5 Intel CPU, as well as the AMD. Then, of course, we'll double the I/O bandwidth together with the scalability, efficiency, and greater performance. Okay, the next slide is to illustrate that, for example, Gen 8 is our server that was 6 years ago. Gen 9 is 5 years ago. So if customer going to move from Gen 9 and Gen 8 server to the Gen 11, that's the amount of saving, energy efficiency they can have when they move to the new workload. Okay. The next slide is to illustrate, for example, core by core, memory by memory. For example, on the left-hand side, we're talking about 4th gen Intel CPU, right? Rapid CPU. If current customer having 20 server running on a Gen 9 server, having 2 processor, 12 core, right? Great. All this number of 480 core, 5 terabyte memory, right? If they move to our Gen 11, basically from 20 server, they can reduce to 5 server. This is a lot of saving, especially from the power itself. As you can compare 10 kilowatts compared to 4.7K. Yeah. On the right-hand side, I'm just doing the same thing, a core-to-core, memory to memory. If you move from the server to AMD chipset, you just need 5 server. But of course, this server is only running 1 processor, which is having the 96 core. Yeah. So there's a lot of power saving, etc. And also, yeah, especially also on the rack space. Yeah, which in turn take care of the cooling also. Yeah. Okay, accelerated. So in today's context, a lot of customer is looking at AI, IoT. So on our Gen 11 server, we actually have 3 models that we built to integrate all the GPU, NVIDIA GPU, Intel GPU, or AMD GPU within the servers. Okay, so if you understand the architecture of the AI and IoT, right? So there are a few things. There's inferencing, there's fine tuning. So basically, training is things that customer like to build on the machine learning. That's called training. But on our servers, right, normally for our Poland server, we are using more on deployment like inferencing at the edge, and then doing fine tuning. Yeah. The next slide will show you that the different model we have. For example, for the extreme left, we actually have the computer vision AI at the edge. It's a 1U server that can support 4 L4 GPU. And this solution is more for smart space, loss preventions, video surveillance solution. The next on the central one is this generative vision AI, which is more for 3D animation as well as image and video generation. For these servers, it's a 2U, but it can support 2 variations. You can support 4 L4, L40S GPU or up to 8 NVIDIA L4 GPU. Of course, you also can support the next feature that you can do is it can support 4 pieces of H100. I think the next one is be the H200 GPU. And this server can support 4. Yeah. And then it's all using PCIe. and we can do the NVLink to link all these 4 GPU together to give you a bigger bandwidth throughput for the applications. So the previous slide is about Gen 11. So this is our Gen 12. This is the server that we actually have the integration partnership with NVIDIA. So the extreme left one is the server that we call it the DL384 Gen 12. It can support up to single or double pieces of the GH200 NVLE. Basically, this server integrate the GPU as well as the CPU within this server. So normally what it does is it comes with the NVIDIA CPU, NVIDIA CPU, that's the CPU that's on your handphone, and together with the GPU. Yeah, it's more for LLM consumer fine-tuning as well as large model or RAC. The central one is the LML, also for the LMM, but this one is having a 4U server that can support up to 8 H200 NVL GPU. We haven't GA yet, but a lot of customers is asking for the budgetary code. And on the last one is the HP Cray XD670. This one also can support 8 NVIDIA GPU, but this one is using the SXM technology. Basically, you cannot start with 1 or 2. You have to buy the 8 GPU together. And this is more for, a lot is used for LLM for machine learning. Yeah, we call it the high computer HPC, high performance computing servers. Okay. So for NVIDIA, right, there's a lot of different GPU that cater for different needs, data center as well as the edge. So if you can see from the slide, right, if you're doing, for example, you're doing a virtual desktop, mostly you will go for the A16 because that GPU is built for this purpose. But if you're looking at things like learning processing, language processing, conversation AI, then you can use the A13. So it's no one GPU fit everything, but there's a different workload. Yeah. Next, I want to share with you one or two use cases, right, we have. So the first one is Seagate. You know that Seagate actually manufactures hard disks, right? So what they want to do is they want to predict the tooth failure by hours because manufacturing, they don't want to, end of the day, one or two of the machine that break down, then they will actually suffer the loss on the whole production line. So they want to have this thing called the prediction tooth failure. Okay, so they want, because they want to do the next slide, sorry. Yeah. So the next slide, right, they actually approach our HP services team. Then what they does is they collaborate with our team as well as our HP lab, right? And the expert into this thing called the machine learning. And everything is running on Kubernetes base core architecture, as you can see from the screen. And together, the two teams, there's this team called the IT and OT team, that they work together to get the result of what they want. Everything using the image processing, failure event detection, as well as model deployment automations. So this is one of the use case that we use it. Using one of our GPU server that we mentioned earlier. The next one is FrogComs. FrogComs actually want to do the defects product analytics. So what it does is they want to make sure that before the product is actually sent out to customer, they want to make sure the product is in place. So this is another use case that they're using the image to actually screenshot and compare the end product with the working product. Yeah. So this is one of the use case that we actually work it out together with Frogcom. And also Frogcom's also one of our partner that manufacturing our servers. Yeah. Yeah. So this is doing their real-time data. So basically, they be using all the history analytic view, right? The image to compare the output of the current system before they actually send out to the customers. Okay, the last one I'm talking about is open, right? So when we say open, is the open approach. So in today's context, customer having very huge server farm, right? They actually try to use things like open BMC, which we are also supportive because of the open standard we have. Beside the ILO, we also can using things like Redfish, TLDM, and SPDM. Yeah, for the data management, also server hardware management, etc. The next slide is our range of servers from our Gen 11. So we have server from AMD, we have server from Intel. Depend what you need is edge optimized or storage optimized, density optimized, accelerator optimized, as well as blade. So these are all the server we have currently. As the last one is cloud optimized, which is the Ampere server, the RL300 that's running a Kubernetes container application. Okay, I've come to the last slide. So the takeaway is that we are intuitive, trusted by design, and then optimize. Not one server fit all. We have different server for different workload. That's all I have. Over to you, Radhika. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you so much, David. It was very nice and really informative. I'm sure many of you have now better understanding of how OpenStack can offer flexibility and agility in the cloud strategies. Okay, so now we have reached the Q&A section of our webinar. We had some great questions coming in already, so let's get started. So if you have any questions, please be sure to ask questions.
I think feel free to ask question. I think we have a Siraj hands up, right? Can we unmute him? Oops, Siraj. Or maybe Siraj, you can. Okay. In the Q&A there, is there other use case in other than AI or IoT use case? Do you mean use cases or other than AI IoT use cases?
Okay, maybe I take it up this one. Yeah. So beside
Thanks.
AI and IoT, right? What it does is we also have solution. For example, we have video analytics. We have customer coming to us to do video analytics. For example, I take one example. For example, our Causeway. So what it does is the government body want to monitor the particular device. I mean the vehicle moving in and out daily. So what it does is when the lorry come into the premises, right? They take a screenshot of the what I call it, the bonnet of the car, of the lorry. For example, the wheel, the brakes, everything. You have X-ray scan. So when the car going out back to the country, and the next time when they come back, they will use the same image to do a quick scan to see whether there's anything hidden within the vehicle before it's just for the government body to check is there any illegal thing stuff inside this car moving in, this vehicle moving in. This is one of the use case. Another use case is using the video analytics, right? For example, for security department, they doing some fencing. So on the fencing side, right? Let's say, for example, there's a particular area, the fencing, there's a lot of motions. So other than for the security person to move all the way to the area, right? Using that camera, they can just zoom in and see what is it happening there. Is it some animals or is it the wind too strong that affect the fencing? Yeah. So all these are some of the AI use cases other than in the factories. Yeah. Did that answer your questions?
So
Okay,
I
next
believe
one.
David Yeah, I think that scenario probably I will leverage on AI to help with some of the analysis like what you just described. So I think there's a question then if like, for example, no, if I want to start small, right, like 1 to 2 GPU, right? Do
Mhm.
you have some servers that you can recommend?
Yes. So beside the accelerator server, we actually have our standard server, which is 1U or 2U. So we can start with one GPU and you can scale up to two or three, depend on the model. Yes, we have such a servers, correct. And it's running on Intel as well as AMD.
Mhm. There's a
What?
question here, what specific technologies and enhancement are enabling such a significant power reduction?
Okay. So the enhancement is the okay on the technology side, right? On the server side, older generation server basically what it does is they using the older fan, the older power supply, which is don't have this inbuilt technology to actually bring down the efficiency. So basically, for example, if the server power on and it just keep running at 800%, so 80% non-stop. But for the new servers, right, because they got sensor, we call it a sea of sensors, basically in our servers, right? We're able to monitor that if this server is running a workload, maybe 20 to 30%, of the 10 fan, right, maybe I can shut down 7 fan. This is able to save a lot of power on that particular server. So actually there are sensors built within the servers. We actually can set the threshold. Like if, for example, if the server is running 50% or below, right, we can shut down rest of the fan. And it's just bare minimum running, able to run. Yeah. So this is a technology built in since our Gen 10 servers. Yeah, correct.
I see in our Q&A list, there's a question, there are any reference or working solution servers that can support hybrid cloud OpenStack?
Yeah, so based on our the portfolio I shared earlier, right? Actually, for OpenStack, right, we actually have reference architecture that if customer want to start small, right, we can start with maybe one master node or three worker nodes. And all these worker node, we can actually plug in the GPU if you want to run some of the analytics, like for example, the earlier solution, the earlier use case on the Seagate that you can have Kubernetes running on top. Yeah. So we actually have such a deployment. Yeah, but I can't share the reference of the customer. Yeah. Yes, we have.
Thank you, David. Okay, Mr. Liam asked, does your system support Kubernetes? What is the best
Yes.
strategy to migrate from Kubernetes from a public cloud, such as EKS to a private cloud?
EKS to private cloud. Okay, so okay, our server can support the Kubernetes. Okay, so for the migration, normally we'll engage SI or our services team to have a more detailed discussion. Yeah, because there's different workload, what kind of workload, what kind of dependency you have when you migrate from the cloud back to on-prem. And of course, the services team also able to advise which are the applications that stay on the cloud, which are the applications that best move back to on-prem. Yeah. So we need to have
Yeah.
a discussion, yeah, rather than
So
just
correct. So I don't know who asked that question. We can have an offline discussion because we have people who work on the OpenStack as well as Kubernetes. We also work very closely with HP. Yeah, I think that questions we can take it offline. Yeah.
What is the largest OpenStack deployment? Oh, sorry, TY, maybe want to answer this? There's one more question.
Joshua, I think maybe you can answer the question. Was it about 100 over?
Yeah, we have actually as large as that number, I think, for one of the telcos players. So yeah, I think it was in the range of 100 physical nodes, but it comes out of a few thousand virtual servers. So we have our deployment ranges from small scale up to the other end of the spectrum as well. Yeah. So we can certainly have more discussion on this topic.
But I mean, most of the customers start small. then they build big. Yeah. Nobody goes straight to 100 server. In fact, we are working with a Vietnamese telco to look at 300 server deployment. Yeah. It will take a while, but best is to start small because you don't know whether your workload can run properly on it or not, right? So we have to start small and then slowly scale up because OpenStack is very simple to scale up. There are automation tool that can add on node, physical node, kind of easily. Yeah. So we don't have to worry that. I mean, the most difficult part is actually to set up the first 3 cluster. Yeah. Further to it actually is simple, but of course some people may be looking at multiple region, right? Then for those kind of solution, you need some planning.
There's one more question on, is it the last one? On the deployment OpenStack control and compute on all nodes.
I see a question from Siraj. I have 5 hypervisor and all of them have 124 gigs of memory. That's why I'm deploying OpenStack control and compute on all nodes.
All nodes?
Is this a good practice?
You can, but usually the OpenStack portion, they like to take it separately, right? They don't want to put it into compute and or self cluster because that would degrade the performance. But if you're going to do it for a proof of concept, I think that's fine. Yeah.
Or is a question also asking about whether the control elements and compute should be across all nodes? I think there's a meaning, is it?
No. Infrastructure node is usually separate by itself. Yeah. I mean, for very small installation, you can put it together. But if you're going to scale up, I think you definitely have to make sure infrastructure nodes are separate.
Thank you, Ting Yao. I think those are the questions I see on the screen as of now. Probably have another 10 seconds. Any more questions that anyone else has got any queries? I think if there's no further queries, I will close this session and hand it back over to Radhika, our host.
Yeah. Thank you all for your amazing questions. And if we didn't get to yours, don't worry, you can still reach out to us after the session at info@accretes.com. Okay, before we wrap things up, I have some exciting news for all those who have stayed until the end. We are going to select 5 lucky winners to receive an SGD 20 cash prize each. So we will be using a fun roulette wheel with the names of everyone who is still with us today. Okay, let me share my screen for the roulette.
Oh. Me.
The first winner is May. Let's go with the second winner. It's Arsha. Eugene. It's Fakri Mirza. And the last one. higher. So congratulations to all our lucky winners. We'll be reaching out to you via email with more details on how to claim your prize. Thank you all again for joining us today. We hope you found the session valuable and informative. If you have any more questions or would like to take an advantage of our free consultation offer, don't hesitate to reach out. Have a great day. We look forward to seeing you at our future events.